Hello students, welcome to our online revision class. Students, in our previous class we learnt about the three states of matter and how their properties enable us to identify them. Now, let us see how one state of matter can be converted to other. Are you ready students now? Now let us investigate whether this is possible or not. Students, this session won't be covering each and every sentences from your book, but we will be revising the chapter according to it. Are you ready students? Now let us hop on. What is this change in the state? Okay, now let us see each and every part with the detail value. Now, students, look. A change of substance, like it can be either solid to liquid or liquid state to solid state, or liquid state to gaseous state or gas state to liquid state. So the change of substance like an ice melts from a solid state to a liquid state, or the water has been heated again to form a vaporization into a water vapors or gaseous state. So this is a change in state of matter. So let us explain with some of the examples. Let me tell you an example, like when you get a cup of ice cream from the vendor, what is the first thing that you note, or what is the first thing that you'll do? You will be in a hurry to finish it off, because we know that ice cream has the capacity and it will melt soon. So that is a change of substance, and it's substance from one physical state. Physical state represents what the matter are. Okay, so converts from one state to another. Okay, so this represents the change in state. Now let us see each and everything in detail. First, you might have a thought, what will happen if we see a state of matter like it melts or either it solidifies? What will happen there? Will the energies gain or the energies lost? So if you have a matter to be changed, then the energy must be removed from it. For example, if you try to melt an ice cube, the energy is removed. And gaining and losing can be represented based on the temperature of the substance. Now, let us see what will happen if the energy or the solid state moves from the liquid state. Okay, so melting. Melting is nothing but, as I told you, when we have an ice cube with us, its solid becomes to liquid. So energy is added here. That is, your solid is given back by the temperature. So melting point at which the substance can be liquid into liquid state, can you guess? Yes, the freezing point of the water is 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So the liquid water changes from solid ice to the temperature. You can see the change of the substance that take place to a water. So when you watch it keenly, what happens here? Due to the change in its temperature, or the temperature outside the refrigerator causes the ice cream to melt or ice cubes to melt. This process is whether a solid changes to a liquid on heating. Yes, the outer temperature will be little bit elevated. So what will happen? The heating process happens. So this is called melting. Now can you get it? The first process that we learned is solid to liquid, and that will be melting. Now let's see to the next one. Vaporization. That is, what you are going to do is liquid to gas form. This is the next representation. What happens when you heat a cup of water? What happens? Yes, of course, the water disappears into a water vapor. And this process is called what? Vaporization. Awesome kids, you are doing really great with me. Now, what can you tell me? Let me give you a few examples of this. Okay, The few examples are, when you see your mother making hot idlis, you can see some water droplets above the lid of it. So that represents the water is being in a form of a gaseous state. So this is due to its what? Temperature. Of course, students, on heating, the water starts increasing the temperature. The increase in temperature causes water to boil and change into water vapor. So this process is called evaporation. Okay, so the next process we are going to learn is, we are going to learn the next process as a solid directly changes into gas. So this is another process, and this is one of the process of liquid to gas. Okay, so the next thing that we learned is evaporation. Evaporation happens when water molecules heated up, it end up in vaporization. The next state is, yes, condensation. The condensation is the best example of, for example, the temperature inside a refrigerator is lesser than the temperature outside the refrigerator. So the decrease in temperature causes water to freeze into ice. Likewise, the liquid can be changed into gas by, very good, the temperature changes, it obviously solidifies the liquid. Okay, what happens if you take the cold cup of water outside and leave it? What will happen? Obviously, when you cool the vapor, you will get small droplets of ice. So this is called condensation, and this state represents what? Gas to liquid state. Now can you get? So first we have discussed solid to liquid state, and next we have discussed liquid to gaseous state, and the next, now we are discussing about gas to liquid state. So when you see this kind of experiment that happens around us, this is nothing but you are cooling a gas and the particle of energy is lost here, and this state forms a gas to a liquid. Okay, so this is called what process? Of course, condensation process. And the next process to liquid to solid. So this is also called as deposition. Or for example, when you go to Kullu Manali of India, what can you find there? A very cool season with some snow there. A snow is a substance where the vapors or the moisture that present around our surface are turned into snowflakes. And when a liquid is cooled, the particle starts to lose the heat and comes to close up. So that the temperature at which the liquid starts freezing from solid to a freezing point. At freezing point, the particles of the liquid get set in their position and become solid. So this is how the ice is made. So students, since we are discussing about the change of state of matter, shall we recap now? The first state of matter that we discussed is solid to liquid state. What happens here? Yes, when you take an ice cream starts to melt to the room temperature. So here melting happens, okay, on the base of heating. The next state of matter that we have discussed or we have gained our knowledge is on liquid to gas. That is, when you try to boil a pan of water, what happens? The water starts to loosen up and the temperature increases. The increase in temperature causes the water to boil and change into water vapor. And this process is called what? Yes, very good, evaporation. And the next we have discussed about gas to liquid. I already showed you the best example is when you take a cold water bottle outside and there you can see some water droplets, that is the water droplets that has to come around it solidifies. And this solidified water outer structure, you have some droplets of water, and this process is called condensation. This happens in a part of a cycle. Okay, when you try to boil by heating, what happens? You will become a gaseous state, and gaseous state, if you try to cool it, then it will become a liquid. Can you see how interlinked it is? The next thing is, and the last but the final point that we have discussed here is liquid to solid. Liquid to solid is the best example that I could discuss to you is taking a water bottle and placing it in a freezer. What happens? Because of the temperature is low inside your refrigerator, the liquid starts to bind up and there it solidifies. So these are the changes of matter that we have learned. Shall I tell you about some of the keywords that we have learned here? The keywords that we have learned here is about vaporization, condensation, sublimation, and the other one is, can you tell me? Yes, obviously evaporation. Okay, so these are the things that we have discussed here: melting, evaporation, condensation, and sublimation. And you also learned the freezing point of water, that is 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, so these are the things that we have discussed in our class. So students, please complete your worksheets and be aware that you have to submit to us. So thank you students, and in the next week we will be revising about our next unit. Thank you students.